All right, so in intermediate algebra, we did both those two kinds of problems. Now we're getting to the long one. Now we just have to make it a little longer. They're trying to see if you know how to do multiple things that we did in the review section. The first thing is this. If I have x minus 3 squared, what do I do to get rid of those parentheses?
Property? No. Oh.
Something is squared, what does it mean? Right, if 5 squared, what do? What? You multiply 5 times 5, right? So if I have x minus 3 squared, I'm going to multiply x minus 3 times the second x minus 3, right? That's what we did in the review section. And then we have to FOIL that out. So x times x is x squared. X times the minus 3 on the outside is minus 3x. Negative 3 times x on the inside is negative 3x. And then negative 3 times negative 3 on the end, positive 9. So taking the x times both of these, the negative 3 times both of those, and then combining our like terms. So we get x squared minus 6x plus 9. That's going to equal our 2x squared minus 10x plus 4 that was over on the other side. So we've got squared terms in there, and it's an equation, and the only way we know how to solve those things is by setting our equation equal to 0, right? So I want to get 0 on one of my sides. I always want my x squared to be positive, so I'm going to move the one with the smaller x squared term. So this side is all going to come over here. I'm going to minus my x squared. I've got to add my 6x, and I've got to minus my 9 then. So 2x squared minus x squared would be 1x squared. Negative 10 plus 6 minus 4x. Positive 4 minus 9 minus 5 is going to be equal to 0. I'm going to rewrite that over here. X squared minus 4x minus 5 equals 0. Now we've got everything rearranged and moved, and it looks like our previous problems, right? We can solve that by factoring. So, if I have to factor the x squared, I'm going to factor that into x and x. Since the end is a negative, I'm going to have one of each sign. Positive times a negative is a negative. And then I got to factor my 5 so that when I plug it in, I get a negative 4. Well, the only way to factor 5 is 1 times 5. Since I want a negative 4, my 5 has to be negative and my 1 has to be positive, right? Negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4 in the middle. Once I have it factored, just like on those previous ones, I have two easy problems to do. Either x plus 1 equals 0 or x minus 5 equals 0. So when I solve, I'm going to minus my 1 and get negative 1, and plus my 5 and get positive 5. So x is going to equal negative 1 or 5. They'll put a comma in there. So they give you a really super long problem like that because that way when you take the assessment, there's a whole lot of things they don't have to check. If you can do that one big long problem, they know you know a lot of stuff. They know you know how to square a binomial. They know that you need to set this equal to 0. They know you can factor. All that good stuff. Got that all written down?
Yep.
All right, so number 11 is going to be very similar to what we just did. First thing I want to do on there is what? What's the first thing I should do?
You want to multiply that.
W minus 4 times W minus 4, right? Now on the Alex program, they don't do that as their first step, and it looks really confusing, so ignore them. Do this first. It makes it easier. So if I multiply that out, what am I going to get?
W squared
Mm-hmm.
minus 4W
Yep,
minus 4W
yep,
plus 16.
exactly. So then we have W squared minus 8W plus 16, right? And on the other side, we still have the 2W squared plus W plus 30. So 2W squared plus W plus 30 equals W squared minus 8W plus 16. What's the next thing I want to do? Moved everything over here to the left side. So I'm going to subtract my W squared. I'm going to add my 8W. And I'm going to subtract my 16. And if I do that, what am I going to get?
Are you gonna have the 8W squared there?
This is just 8W. This is going to
Oh,
add up to
okay.
9, right? So 2W squared minus 1W squared is W squared. Here I'm adding, not multiplying, so 1 plus 8 is 9W. And then 30 minus 16 would be 14, right? So W squared plus 9W plus 14 is equal to 0. What are we going to do with that?
So you gotta make your parentheses
Put our
there.
2 sets of parentheses and factor it out. So factoring that, we get
A W,
W and W.
W and W.
Both my signs are going to be positive because these are both pluses. Factors of 14, that will give me 9 in the middle.
7 times 2.
7 and 2. So either W plus 7 equals 0 or W plus 2 equals 0. And so when I solve the first one, I'm going to
You're going to divide, bring your 7 be negative 7.
So I'm going to subtract my 7. W equals negative 7. And on the other one,
Be negative 2.
will be negative 2. So W is going to equal negative 7 or negative 2 for your 2 solutions. So hopefully not too hard, it's just long. So number 12. What's the first thing I should do on that one?
Okay, first you gotta. First gonna be V, parentheses, V,
We got to take our V plus 6 times our V plus 6, right?
yep,
So foiling that out, we would get
3 times 3, I mean, oh yeah, V plus 6. Plus V plus 6.
V squared plus 6V plus a second 6V plus 36, right? So combining our two 6v's, we get v squared plus 12v plus 36 equals 2v squared plus 4v plus 48. So the next thing I want to do is what?
So minus v squared
I'm going to minus my v squared.
plus 12v
What am I going to do with my 12v?
minus
Minus my 12v and
minus 36.
minus my 36. So that 0 is equal to
Okay,
so this is going to be 2v squared minus v squared is
v
v
squared
squared. A positive 4v minus a 12v
minus 8
minus 8v.
minus 12.
What's my
plus
sign?
12.
Plus 12. Okay. So 0 equals v squared minus 8v plus 12. And if you want to put the equal 0 on the other side, you could, but I'm just leaving it in the order we have. And so now we need to factor it out. Factors of v squared.
V and v.
V and v. What are my signs on this one?
Negative and a positive. Negative and negative.
A negative and a negative. If the end is positive, they're both the same as the middle. Negative times a negative makes a positive on the end, but adds up to a negative in the middle. Factors of 12, that gives me the 8 in the middle.
6 plus 2.
6 and 2.
6 and 2.
6 times 2 is 12, right?
Yeah.
So, either the v minus 6 is going to equal 0 or the v minus 2 is going to equal 0. And so if I solve those, I'm going to plus my 6 and plus my 2, right? So 6 and 2 are my two answers.